Hey everyone, so as you can see, I am not in my parents' basement. I'm actually in an on-campus apartment in Chicago. I just moved in today, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the move-in process and why ultimately I decided to move back to Chicago. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a junior at Loyola Chicago, and last semester I did college from my parents' basement in Maryland, which, wasn't that great, and although I was able to power through my classes and actually do pretty well, I still missed that sense of independence. I missed being in Chicago. I missed just being able to go for walks by the lake. I missed on campus. I missed pretty much everything. And one important thing to note is one of the reasons I chose this school was to be in Chicago. Ever since I was 10 or 11, I always wanted to live in this city. And I don't know if I'm going to stay in Chicago once I graduate. Quite frankly, I'm gonna move wherever I can find a job. So I want to spend as much time in this city as I can because, as I mentioned, one of the reasons I chose to go to this school was to be in Chicago. And I know there's a lot of people who felt the same way I did. When my school canceled on-campus housing for the fall last semester, there were a lot of people who decided to live on off-campus apartments instead. And I was this close to doing the same thing. You see this close. But with the situation I was in at the time, it didn't really make enough sense for me to try to find an off-campus apartment, so I decided to stay home. So ultimately, I made the decision to do the fall semester from home, and if my school reopened campus for the spring semester and there was a spot available for me, I would go there. And ultimately, that's what ended up happening. But making the decision to return to an on-campus apartment wasn't the easiest decision in the world. There were a lot of pros and cons I had to evaluate before making this decision. Pros. Number one, I wouldn't be in Maryland anymore. And don't get me wrong, I like my hometown and I like my family, but I just needed to be away from there. I really value my alone time and just that sense of independence. Another pro, I'd be in Chicago, which is probably one of my favorite cities in the entire world. And although I don't plan on going out much, I do plan on doing some walks and possibly hanging out with people, socially distant, wearing masks, all that stuff. Also, the on-campus apartment worked for me because most of the apartments that I was looking for off-campus were all year-long leases. And I wasn't planning on getting a year-long lease. I only really stay in Chicago for the school year, and then when the school year's up, I just go back home to Maryland. So I didn't want to go through the hassle of trying to find someone to sublease my apartment, or even paying for the apartment when I wasn't going to be living there. Like, that didn't really make much sense. And believe me, I tried my best to find apartments or find certain subleases that would work for me, and I couldn't really find anything that worked. Also, I guess another plus with the on-campus apartment is the furniture is all provided, and honestly, this place is pretty spacious. And I will say, this place is much bigger than a lot of the apartments that I was looking at. This place is meant for 2 people, but because of COVID, it's just me living here. I think a lot of the apartments that I was looking at were about like half this size. Now, there were some cons to this as well. The first con is that I have an RA, and basically what RAs do is they monitor the floors, they make sure you're doing okay, they kind of help you out if you're having any issues with, your room or just life in general. And I actually have nothing against RAs. The reason why I kind of listed it as a con is because some people think that RAs kind of limit your freedoms in a way. Because let's say you're drinking and you're underage, the RA is usually the person that's going to crack down on that. And I know the reason that a lot of people move off campus is so they can have more freedom. That's why typically you have a lot of off-campus parties, because it's easier to throw a party off campus than it is on campus. But here's my philosophy with all that. As long as you're not doing anything you're not supposed to, you won't have any trouble with your RA. My past 2 years, I've had little to no interaction with my RAs because I don't do anything I'm not supposed to. And I know I may be sounding like a kiss-up or whatever, but honestly, I don't really care about drinking or partying or whatever. I usually just stay in my room anyway. I guess one kind of fear or anxiety I was dealing with was the thought that I had outgrown the whole living on campus thing, because a lot of people I know who are juniors are living off campus. Pretty much everyone I know. And I'm one of the few people who are living on campus, and I was thinking, I was like, am I kind of being a baby in a way? That I'm doing this and they're all living off on their own, and here I am in school housing or whatever. But then I really thought about it and I was like, well, this is the best situation for me to be in, so I'm gonna take this. And I just kind of had to get over that fear and just realize it's not really that big a deal, Eric. Like, why are you stressing out over this? I guess another con, and again, I don't really know if this is that much of a con, but I'm living with freshmen and sophomores. Mainly freshmen, a few sophomores, and I'm one of the very rare juniors that are living on campus. And I don't have any issue with living with people that are a couple years younger than me. I really don't. I think the main thing is that I don't really know these people. Because when I was a sophomore and I was living on a floor with all sophomores, I knew some of the people beforehand. But here, I know nobody. But at the same time, it really doesn't matter that much because I don't plan on interacting with these people too much because of the whole COVID thing in anyway. I mean, I'm sure some of them are friendly, maybe I'll get to know them. It's really not that big a deal. Now, another con, and this is probably the biggest con if I'm being honest with you, is that my school can kick me out at any time. Since this apartment is run by the school, at any point, if the COVID rates get really high, they can just shut this down and kick us all out. As opposed to an off-campus apartment, like if you sign the lease, you're good to stay there. But here, my contract can just be destroyed at any second. And although that definitely is a fear, I've kind of come to the conclusion that if my school deemed it was unsafe for me to be here and I should go home, I probably wouldn't want to be in Chicago anyway. And I've had some people asking me if I feel safe here, and honestly, I really do. My school's been taking COVID protocols really seriously, which I'm honestly really grateful for. I had some friends telling me that they had to get tested once a month, or every time they come back to campus, they have to get tested or whatever. And I was like, really? Because my school's having us get tested twice a week. And although that may seem like overkill to some, at the end of the day, I am glad that they're taking it more seriously as opposed to other schools that don't really seem to be taking it very seriously. And I do want to talk a little bit about the whole move-in process. I'm sorry this year I wasn't able to do a whole move-in vlog because, quite frankly, I was very stressed out just because things were really different due to COVID, so I wasn't really able to vlog anything. But this year when it came to moving in, my school really stressed the idea of packing light, like not bringing a lot. And the reason for this is because, as I mentioned, they can kick us out at any minute, so you need to be ready to just pack things up and go. Because of this, my room is significantly less decorated than it was last year. As you know, last year, my room was pretty awesome. I had a Jacob Sartorius poster. I had a lot of stuff. And this year, I brought very little decorations. I did bring my Bionicle, though. It's an action figure, by the way. It's not a doll, as some people like to say. But it was very overwhelming to try to figure out what to bring and what not to bring, and I really didn't want to overpack, so it was very hard dealing with all that. Also, when I was getting my keys, they had the wrong number on the thing, which I pointed out, by the way, because I'm a very observant person. So it took them about 10 minutes to get me a new key. Then when I got the new key, I had to take everything out from the car, lug it in this cart, and then take it all the way to my building. And here's the thing, usually when it comes to moving on campus, you can like park your car right outside the building and there's people helping you with that. But due to COVID this year, you had to pretty much do it on your own. And we weren't allowed to park next to the building. We had to park in the parking lot and, you know, take the thing several blocks down the street. And it did take a lot of muscle. As you can see, I am very muscular, but it did take a lot of muscle to move the cart across campus with it filled to the brim. And on top of that, the carts like kind of have these wheels that don't always work. Like the wheels always move to the left, so you're always kind of moving it at this kind of sideways way, and it takes a lot of maneuvering to get the thing to go straight. So lugging that across campus was pretty stressful. And then when we got there, my key didn't work because I guess they forgot to register my name when they forgot my key. So my key card didn't work to get into the building, so then we had to wait like 10 more minutes for someone to come there and give us that. And then when I was moving the stuff to my room, my cart could barely fit in the elevator. Like the elevator is really tiny and I had to like kind of squeeze it in there and then like barely kind of make my way through so I could push the button to get me to my floor. And then I had to set my room up and then I had to lug my cart all the way back to pick up food because we have to quarantine for 2 weeks and they're giving us food. And then I had to lug that all the way back, and now I'm here. So I will admit the whole movement process was overwhelming, but at the same time I thought my school did a pretty good job, minus a few hiccups, but I thought they did a pretty good job of helping me, you know, get moved in. Yes, they had a few mistakes along the way, but at the end of the day, that's gonna happen. I imagine they're under a lot of stress, so I don't really blame them for that. I think they did a pretty damn good job. Excuse my language, but I thought they did a pretty good job. And now I feel like I have this weight lifted off of my chest. Like I'm moved in, you know, I'm not really stressed out anymore, and I just feel a lot more comfortable with things. But I'm grateful to be back in Chicago and I'm glad I can share this whole experience with you. But that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Have you moved back to campus? What are you doing for college? What did you think of the video? Tell me stuff. Engage with me. I'll be responding to comments, so feel free to comment something down below and I'll make sure to reply to you. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you have not already. Also, shout out to the first ever channel member of the Eric Moran Films YouTube channel, Neem. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for the support. If you want to be a channel member, there's information in the description below. It's $3 a month and you get access to badges, emojis, and you get a shout out at the end of every video. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe click the link below and see what it's all about. There's also a join button somewhere on your computer screen. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.
On a grind, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, going strong. Kill it how I do it, TNT, we blowing up. Level up, game never stop, showing love. Telling haters, keep it real, my time is on.